Hi again everyone. So as I was saying in my last video about my smart home tour around my house, I have actually had a blog post because I started doing this thing back I think in 2019 when I was living in Beijing, and back then the setup was actually done, so it was essentially carry over from there and right now in my Berlin apartment. It has quite a lot of information on all the basic things how I did in terms of burning Tasmota to devices, configuring those devices, what's the network map, how each of these different devices were tampered with, goes into the software section as well. Quite a bit, like how I was using Node-RED for each of these things. That has evolved quite a bit. So after that, I actually haven't updated it in a while, and I might do it in the near future. But again, as I mentioned in my previous video that I have added quite a bunch of stuff. There was a plan to add voice control, which I'm not doing anymore. So that's, as you can see, like it was last updated at 2020. And this actually, I think, because there are so many services running behind, this is still a work in progress, I would say. So this is like a dashboard for my, it's not a home server or like a home lab, but it's still sort of a server, right? And it's nice to have like a dashboard. Having a dashboard, I don't have to remember all the time all the IPs. For example, Tasmota admin gives, we'll see soon, Tasmota admin gives us a nice interface to see all our Tasmota devices. Zigbee to MQTT gives us a nice interface to onboard new Zigbee devices, especially as I was mentioning, I have IKEA lights and buttons. So for that, I added this. This is a new feature, Tasmota admin, also something that I have actually added after moving to Berlin. I want to keep it very light, and I might add a Pi-hole in there, but I'm not going to overcrowd it. The whole point is I found this very nice lightweight dashboard utility called, it's just a dashboard. I love it. It's inspired by Sui and has the same features. It's super minimal. I love it. It's super lightweight, perfect for Raspberry Pis and things like that. So in this section, essentially, you'll see how you can add new URLs to the apps, and you can group a bunch of things. You can have a wiki, all sort of things. And again, as you can see, I have reduced it to the bare minimum here. Tasmota admin, what it does is it exposes quite a bunch of stuff. So basically it looks at all the Tasmota devices, and you can actually go to the device list. You can scan and you can onboard devices, add new devices to the list once those devices are up. You can update, bulk update, you can bulk backup, you can scan for new devices, all those stuff. So all those goodies are in here, and that's what it does. Essentially, that's more or less what it has. Now, what's Zigbee to MQTT? As I mentioned, Zigbee to MQTT is the bridge, right, for Zigbee devices, so that I can control them through MQTT from my Node-RED. It took me a while to actually find and get used to it because I couldn't find any tutorial, so I had to do it myself. And what it does is use permit all, and now it's actually start to look at devices. And if you bring in a device close to your Raspberry Pi that has the dongle, yeah, it appears here soon, and then you can rename it, you can tag it, you can do a whole bunch of stuff, you can look at the power. So we're not going to spend a lot of time, but like the cool feature that I really like is the map. As you can see, I have, this is like, this shows you a real-time map of how these devices are talking to each other. So this is like a mesh network. So one of them is actually acting as the hero, or so to say, like the base, and all of these are talking to it. This doesn't need to be confused with our bridge, because our bridge is living over there. All of these devices are talking, for example, in here to a lamp, and this lamp is finally then pushing all the data back and forth with my Raspberry Pi. Key thing now is our Node-RED dashboard UI, right? So let's go through that, what it is. So I've divided my rooms, my security camera right now. So I have hallway, workshop, living room, bedroom, plant care specifically. In my hallway, I have a door, sensor, and it shows essentially the IP of the device. So if it's up, it's going to show up here when the UI loads. So if I clear it and I click it again or query the IP to see if it's up or not, I can see that, right? As you can see, the security camera is down because I have disconnected it. I'm working on it a little bit, but it's essentially ESP32 cam. What happens is, like, if I enable this and I essentially say like I'm out of home, and if there is an intruder, then it takes a bunch of images, compiles them on Raspberry Pi as a GIF, sends an email to me, and also informs my neighbor on Telegram. Next, where we are sitting right now is our workshop. Funny thing is, like, of course the Zigbee nodes don't have an IP because they're talking Zigbee, but they have a unique ID and strength. And these are essentially binary controls. So we can turn our ceiling lamp, which you cannot see right now, but it's on, trust me. We can turn our headlamp, but it's not on because it's offline. We can turn our IKEA lamp. Yes, you cannot see that. And we can turn our another IKEA lamp, which is behind on the soldering station. See that coming on? And below here, you'll see I have a BLE based distance sensing. Yes, Presence essentially uses Bluetooth Low Energy to detect nearby BLE devices. So your phone can actually transmit unique ID, and the station essentially can detect that. And here are some automations, essentially, again, like similar process of, like, there's a scheduler, like morning, only activate between 5 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you enable it, the trigger also automatically gets enabled because the trigger controls the automation. But you can also enable the trigger by itself without the automation. So your detection can be 24/7 on. Workshop's done. Living room, not much. My control panel is off right now, but control panel was, oh no, it's not off. Okay. All right, these are all on actually. So they're all up. I have a ceiling lamp, stand lamp, book lamp, a lamp which is a Japanese lamp, and a control panel that can also control all of these, a physical control panel. And these are just, again, the binary controls to turn them on and off from here. Plant, I haven't connected it up yet, but essentially what you can do is you can define, I designed it because I had like 4 big plants back in Beijing. I think I need to add one. You can essentially, these controllers with these sliders, you can control for how long in terms of seconds a pump should stay on. So I love Node-RED, and you can see like how I have organized all of my rooms for the UI. These are basically the setup for the UI. Let's expand this a little bit. So binary controls are basically all the software buttons. Water control has a separate section. Door choreographer is essentially the intruder detection system. Turn everything on and off, that's also a feature. And motion sensor, again, is there. Security camera has its own area. My own email sending node in this case, because none of the nodes that I found in the node store were working for me. It uses Postmark, and Postmark, let me see. Okay. Postmark. Yay, so I'm using this JavaScript library, Postmark, essentially to send emails. IoT device backup. All right, CD IoT device backup. Great. So I have devices list.json. By the way, I have given all my devices a static IP, so you can do it from your router's interface as well as from Tasmoda's interface. They all have a name, as you can see. This is called static. Some of them I actually haven't given static, and essentially what it has, yeah, so they all have a name. They all have an IP address. That's all. You'll see how it gets actually used. So again, the reason for this is to make a backup of all your Tasmora nodes, is so that you're not losing configuration if a device goes offline, or you have to fix something and then you refresh it with Tasmora and then you forgot your configuration. You have to come back and check all those stuff. With this, you can just like simply take this and this dump file and then flash it back to the Tasmora and have all your configurations back. So it's a cron job that runs in the background. I have my app.py. App.py, what it does is when you run it, it queries all the devices that are in the list. If they're online, it basically downloads the whole configuration file. There's an API from Tasmora with which you can do that. And it downloads and backs them up in this backup drive, and then it pushes it to my GitHub. Just simply write .py. It's removing first all the old dump files, and then now it's downloading all the dumps. And you can see like some hosts are unreachable. I think there was, which one? It was the workshop headlamp. Yes, of course, it's offline right now. And then it's pushing to the Git. And done. Essentially using Node-RED and MQTT for everything. I have a Zigbee to MQTT dongle and a setup for those IKEA lights and other Zigbee modules. I don't have anything else. Zigbee 99% is running Tasmora, and Tasmora admin gives you a good overview of all the Tasmora devices. If you want to learn how Tasmora is flashed, which again I believe is very easy if you just follow Tasmora's website, but I can also show in the next video how that is done. So up until then, thank you and have a good day.